Welcome to the Codependency Surviving Cluster B Relationships Podcast. Want and need to understand codependency? Want to heal from both codependency and from a BPD or NPD relationship of any type? This podcast is for you. Counselor and codependency recovery coach AJ Mahari has 33 years experience helping people heal from codependency family of origin woundedness and recover from cluster B relationships. Sessions can be purchased and booked at ajmahari.ca. And now, here's your host, AJ Mahari.
Welcome back to the Codependency Inside Out Healing from Cluster B podcast. In this episode, I'll be talking about the 5 psychological hooks in codependency that keep you emotionally enmeshed in a relationship with someone who has borderline personality disorder. And this can apply to any relationship type, like family, friend, favorite person, boss, neighbor, or significant other, obviously. These aren't just habits or bad decisions, these psychological hooks, but they are trauma-rooted, patterned, and often unconscious reflexes and repetition compulsion cycles, as I've talked about in regard to codependency as well. Previously, lots of times before. They're unconscious survival patterns from your past, now playing out in your present. If you feel like you can't let go of the person with BPD, even when it feels like you really need to, or you might even want to, but maybe you don't want to, but it feels like you need to. Maybe you're just all confused. If you feel like you can't let go of the person with BPD or the relationship, even when you know this relationship is damaging you, this episode will help you understand more about why, and most importantly, how to begin setting yourself free. Part 1, the savior hook. You feel responsible for their healing. Or you feel responsible right now for the pain they're in, what they can't do. You feel sorry for them. People with codependency often feel sorry for people with BPD. It's the savior hook. When you're codependent, your worth often gets tied to being needed. And this is a pattern that originates in childhood for many various different reasons, for many various different people. And in a relationship with someone with BPD, this turns into a full-time job, trying to be the savior of this other person. You're not just loving them, you're trying to parent them. You're trying to regulate them. You're trying to fix them. You're trying to change them. You're trying to rescue them from themselves. And I would add, you're trying to rescue them from their lack of self. But here's the truth. You're not their therapist. You're not their savior. And you're not responsible for their behavior, how they're hurting you, or their healing. And you can't rescue any person with borderline personality from BPD at all. They need to go to several years plus in treatment. If they don't do that, they aren't going to age out. They aren't going to magically change at all. And this savior complex type, this hook, keeps you in a state of, in a way, overfunctioning, doing for them what they will not do for themselves, that's injurious to you and dysfunctional for you. And the more you rescue or try to rescue, the more you erase your own needs. Part 2, the self-abandonment hook. You keep the peace by silencing and or ignoring yourself, your own needs and wants, maybe the rest of your life, because maybe all your focus is on this person with BPD. You probably said this to yourself or had these thoughts. Just don't bring it up to the person with BPD, whatever you're thinking about, right? Something really matters to you, really hurts you, and you're just thinking, don't bring it up, don't bring it up. Don't upset them, don't want to upset them, don't want to upset them. I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to make it worse. Oh, geez, if I bring it up, like, it'll be another big episode and we'll lose hours and hours more. And, like I might not get hurt. And what if it doesn't help? And so you don't bring it up. You silence yourself. You walk on the eggshells, and it's self-abandonment. You tiptoe. You go quiet. You stuff your feelings down to keep the connection going that you believe is really there, when really, what kind of a connection is it? But this is not connection. It's compliance. It's enabling. And it's self-abandonment. Over time, you really start to lose yourself. Your identity will be disappearing. You no longer know who you are outside of the relationship, if you even have ideas about who are you now, even in the relationship. And this is a massive enmeshment red flag. You only feel okay if they're okay. That's not intimacy. That is the fusion of enmeshment. Part 3, the enmeshment hook. When their emotions become your identity, or sort of take over your thoughts and feelings and your emotions, and the sum total of your focus and time and attention, the enmeshment hook. You are so fused with them now, and as they go, so go you. So if they're in a bad mood, it's a bad day, you're going to be in a bad place. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be going through a lot of your own turmoil and maybe abandonment, fear, etc. So I'm going to pause here and name this dynamic of enmeshment directly. What is enmeshment? Enmeshment is when boundaries between people are blurred or just completely missing. In an enmeshed dynamic, your feelings are not your own. Your sense of self is merged with the other person's moods, behaviors, and pain. Much as people with BPD are doing that with people with codependency. And again, not for the same exact reasons, but there are similarities there. In BPD relationships, enmeshment often sounds like, well, you've said this or you've thought this. If they're happy, I'm happy. If they're falling apart, I can't function either. And I've had many clients say these type of things. These are just generic, sentences that I wrote out to illustrate this. If I leave, they'll collapse, and I couldn't live with myself. If they leave, I can't cope with or stand how I feel. Feel anxious and lost and alone, and I can't stop ruminating and having to get them back again. So you can once again abandon yourself to the borderlines, painful, chaotic, trauma-filled distraction from yourself. You've been meshed to the point where you simply don't know how to exist without the person with BPD. The chaos and the drama, the rescuing, the enabling, and the fixing, and all the things that people with codependency think is just them giving, just them helping. But the cost to you is immeasurably high. You're losing yourself. And here's what makes enmeshment so hard to break. Enmeshment can definitely feel like love, but it isn't love. It feels like intimacy, but it's not intimacy. It feels like you're one with the person with BPD. But that's an illusion or a fantasy as well, because the person with BPD can't even be one with themselves. That identity diffusion and lack of self again in BPD. So when you're enmeshing with somebody with BPD, it's a total recipe for the fantasy of thinking it's love, thinking it's intimacy, and feeling like you're one with that person, but you're not. You're not one with them, and you're not with yourself. It's just this lost, confused, and really crazy-making place to be. Because true intimacy allows space between two people. And people with BPD don't know how to do space. And people with codependency enmeshed to a borderline in a different way won't know how to do space. Enmeshment erases the space. And in so doing, it erases you in the process. You're no longer two people who think or you perceive you're connected. You're one lost identity, held hostage by fear, guilt, and obligation. This is the nervous system in survival mode, trying to stay close to avoid collapse. But closeness without boundaries is not love. It's fusion. It's enmeshment. And this fusion of enmeshment is painful. And it is really unsustainable. It's unsustainable from anybody with BPD because they enmesh as well and they have severe codependency in their own right with BPD. And when they're meshing with you, it's unsustainable. And when you're enmeshed with them, it's equally unsustainable or doubly unsustainable. And part 4, the intensity hook. You're addicted to the roller coaster. This is a trauma bond reality. BPD relationships are often filled with emotional highs and lows, and that's putting it mildly. Idealization, devaluation, rage, withdrawal, disconnection, crazy-making drama and chaos, and sometimes attempts at reconnection. And even when you feel like you are connected, you're not really connected to the person with BPD because they don't really know who they are, and they're not really connected to you in the way that it feels like. And if you're trying to reconnect, well, good luck with that, because it's just going to be like it was the last time you thought that you were connected, until suddenly you realize, we're disconnected now. This intensity can feel like passion, but it's actually trauma reenactment. It's the core of a trauma bond. It mimics the chaos you may have grown up with, unpredictability, walking on eggshells, the cycle of hope for something maybe you needed from a parent or family member, and the harm that you got instead. And that can be really not always obvious to people. How did that happen to me in my childhood? You're not addicted to the person with borderline personality disorder. You're addicted to the cycle. You're addicted to the fantasy. You're addicted to the BPD chaos and drama distraction from your own issues. You're addicted to the trauma bond. Your nervous system is chasing the high of being idealized, which for most people in relationship to somebody with BPD, you were idealized in the beginning. You won't be re-idealized at all, not even after ghosting and, hoovering back and you reverse hoovering them or whatever the case, and some kind of reconnection, and it feels so good. It's still not really re-idealization. And idealization actually isn't really what it feels like and seems like at the beginning of these relationships either. But your system is chasing the high of being idealized, the intermittent reinforcement of the trauma bond, while you're simultaneously bracing for the crash. The result? You confuse intensity with love, and safety feels boring or foreign if you were to be with somebody less intense than somebody with BPD. The 5th hook in codependent patterns in relationships with those with BPD that are meshing is the fantasy hook. You're still holding on to who you thought they were in the beginning. One of the most powerful hooks is the fantasy of who you thought they were. And an even more powerful hook is the fantasy of who they could be. Maybe they idealized you. Maybe they mirrored your every need. Maybe they said, "You're the one I've been waiting for." And you might have felt similar or the same. But now they push you away. They split you black. They ghost. They rage. They withdraw silently if they're quiet borderline. They rewrite history. They twist everything around and nothing makes any sense anymore. And still, you stay because of hope. And really, it's false hope. You're in love with the potential, not the reality of the person with BPD. The fantasy keeps you trapped in cycles of waiting, justifying, and bargaining. And all of that's really painful. You keep thinking, if you just hold on long enough, they'll come back to who they were. But they won't, and they can't. And they never were that person, because that wasn't a stable version of them at all. It was a survival phase of idealization, which, by the way, as much as it feels great and you think it's all about you, unfortunately, it's not really about you for who you are. It's about how the borderline will be experiencing you when they're idealizing you as, the perfect parent they didn't have, wonderful parent they didn't have, the object other representation of good parent never had in most cases. In closing, the cost of enmeshment is you. Enmeshment isn't just about being too close. It's about losing yourself to attempt to keep someone else regulated. And each of these 5 codependent hooks feeds that cycle. Rescuing them so you can feel needed. Abandoning yourself to keep the peace. Absorbing their emotions as your own. Confusing chaos for love. Clinging to a version of them that doesn't exist. And trying to change them into who you thought they were or who you want them to be. Well, I added a 6th one there. It's not your fault that these patterns formed, but now that you hopefully are learning more about them, becoming more self-aware of them, seeing them, you have a sacred responsibility. To get into therapy, I'm out here to work with anybody that resonates with me. I've been doing this work with clients for 35 years. So you have now a sacred responsibility to come home to yourself, to rebuild your boundaries, to learn that love doesn't require your disappearance. You can break the hooks. You can end the enmeshment. You can break through the patterns, and you can reclaim your life. And as always, take care.
You've been listening to the Codependency Surviving Cluster B Relationships podcast with your host, AJ Mahari. AJ hopes her information is helpful. And if you resonate with and want to work with AJ, please go to ajmahari.ca to purchase and book a session or sessions. Thanks for listening, and catch you next time.